Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Did I make it? Did I make it, guys?
You didn't make it.
I didn't make it. I didn't make it. The check bag. I try not to check my bag. Okay, well, we made the show.
Oh, you didn't make it.
I had to run her off. That terminal's crazy. I had to fight a woman at one of the American gates. It's insane. By the way, chat, the show started earlier than it was supposed to. It was supposed to start at 7:30. We were supposed to have a pre-show meeting. That never happened. I'm so sorry I'm late. Didn't make my show, but welcome to the Heat Beat podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas. And with me today, reality check master, Tiffany Meeks. Tiff, what's good? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I'm here, people. I'm here.
She's here. And listen, this was not planned. Tiff and I were going to do a show on Khalil Ware today. And a lot happened instead. Jimmy Butler has been suspended by the Miami organization for 2 days for missing the team flight to Milwaukee. And that's the latest in the saga. After last night, they get embarrassed against Joe Cronin's Portland Trailblazers with Jimmy Butler wearing Phoenix Suns themed sneakers.
Right.
Want to give a quick shout out to everybody in chat on Twitch and on YouTube. Twitch chat's asking Cal Ayus is like, G has been suspended. We will take that up with leadership here at the company. But big shout out to YouTube. Big shout out to Twitch. Remember, guys, if you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Prime subscription. That means no commercials, and you support us, subsidized by Amazon. So exclamation point Prime in Twitch chat if you want to support us. And for the YouTube audience, super chats are always welcome. We love the community that we're building there. So Tiff.
Yes.
This man missed his flight. And we could talk about what may or may not have happened.
Right.
Apparently, team canceled practice and flew earlier than scheduled, according to Ira Winderman, which is the funniest shit I've ever heard. But, Jimmy didn't make it. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, this is this is
crazy. This is a crazy twist in everything that's happening. Because it's like, what do you mean you didn't? What do you mean you didn't show up to work?
I don't. It's crazy, right? But let's take a step back and think about it like realistically. We all knew we would get here. We just didn't know what the here was. But the reality is, we knew we would all get here. And the here is the craziness. Once we realized there was no extension, once we realized Pat wasn't budging, Jimmy wasn't budging, like we all knew we were getting here. We just didn't exactly know if the here was Jimmy, Haywood, Pele, and two other guys from the bench playing the starters. Like we just didn't know if that was the here. But we knew we were here.
I mean, here is crazy because here is at times just total indignation, insubordination. At times it's ugly from the organization. At times it's clearly the team. It feels like they're trying to paint him as the bad guy, which he has helped them extensively in doing that. He's made their life very easy at doing that, Tiff. And it's just gone to a point that it's ugly and filthy. And bro, I know you're over it.
Yes.
You're over it.
Yeah.
I love him, but I'm starting to grow weary of this all. And we're just, man, they're at a point that they're gonna have to take a loss on the trade.
Yeah.
Because I can't see them kicking this till the offseason.
No, and then because what does that look like? Him playing 2 games, him suspended 2 games, him playing 2 games, suspended 2 games. Like I just don't think it we're talking about Jimmy, but like the reality is that That it is what it is. He's gonna be gone at some point. He's gone tomorrow. He's gone next week. He's gone at the end of the season.
It's
He's
inevitable.
right. It's inevitable. So I think the bigger thing that while everybody talks about this, you forget the rest of the players in the locker room.
Oh, I mean, Nico, Tyler,
The younger guy, a lot of the younger
Ware,
guys.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Pell, Kashad, all these guys who I think could use a vet like
right.
Jimmy. Nah, and listen, like, and I don't want to do shit like, I mean, Tiff, you saw the pictures yesterday of him in him at outside of the huddle, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
I don't know what to make of that. Obviously, it doesn't look good, but
Right.
like, I
But
don't know.
like, gee, the saga continues. So we could sit here and nitpick at every little thing he does at this point, or we could just be honest with ourselves and say that we are literally just waiting to sign on the dotted line to end the marriage. This is where we are.
The papers are served.
The papers are served. We're just waiting for everything to be signed. I think for me, I don't care at this point if he's in the huddle, if he's out the huddle, if he's clapping, if he's running on the court, if he's shaking hands and kissing babies. I think we just, why do we care at this point when we know this is Thanos? It's inevitable. Like, we know the snap is moments away. We know it's happening.
Chat
So it's
says,
like,
ugliest divorce I've seen in a minute. Psh, clearly didn't see my parents' divorce. Clearly didn't
you
look
know,
to that.
I think what I find to be most interesting about it is that you're right. Like, what do you think you're going to get back for him at this point?
Bro, at this point, at this point, we're like talking like, oh yeah, Middleton, Portis, and a pick sounds nice. I'm like, bro, that's ass return that I take.
But because you're going to be lucky. You're going to be lucky if you get that return at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pick is nebulous because they might need that pick to do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, they might need that pick to reroute other salary.
Right.
Like it gets really complicated. Like, this is, I think, and by the way, I think Jimmy getting in Phoenix, that doesn't make them winner. I mean, it's just
No.
another. It's a guy that's not the level of defender that we've seen at age 35 join a team that, what are they, 10th in the West? Are they even 10th?
Right.
I mean, like
they're outside. They're on the outside.
They depend on another old guy in Durant who can't stay healthy. Phoenix is 10th. Exactly. They're 21-21.
Right.
Same record as Miami. So it's like, well, you're gonna jump one ship to the other. Like, it's kind of loser situations on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I understand Ishbia like needing to make a splash, and listen, like, hats off to trying.
Right.
But at the end of the day, a lot of that seems futile.
Right, because the other part of it is like Phoenix is not a Jimmy Butler away.
No.
I
gotta be honest, like, there's like a handful of teams. Like, I think maybe I'm kind of like going, like, maybe Denver benefits from a guy like Jimmy. Memphis benefits from a guy like Jimmy. I think Houston, but I think Houston's like a little bit like early in their schedule anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oklahoma City could benefit from a guy like Jimmy, but I understand not wanting to introduce that into your locker room. I think, and then you have the East teams. You have Cleveland, which they like their team, except reality. Boston, who is not going to deal with Miami, and then you have the Knicks, who I think also like their team. So, and then you have Milwaukee. That's another team that's interesting for Jimmy, but again, we're talking about kind of similar packages here.
Right, and I think the whole like Jimmy going to Phoenix, you're not a Jimmy Butler away, but if I look at it on the other side, maybe it's the addition by subtraction, and maybe the subtraction is Bill.
No, I mean, they'll get better. I mean, Jimmy's better than Beal, and I think that he's just a better player.
Oh, I'm not even I'm not even talking about on the court.
They'll get better. Like, they're going to get better.
No,
but
I'm saying no. I'm saying I'm not talking about on the court. I'm just literally talking about, it appears he don't really want to be there and they don't want him there. So I just think in that essence, you're adding somebody that you want, I guess, for the time being, to get rid of somebody you don't want. And then whatever happens, happens.
And I don't know how this ends up. I mean, I think all the reports have been like this is going to be like a 5-teamer. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be a huge trade.
Right.
And who even knows kind of where he ends up, what Miami gets in return.
Right.
I just think that the fact that it got here, Tiff, and we've relitigated this and talked about this all the time, the fact that we even got here is just a failure from the organization because, and I've asked people around the team, and I asked them, I go, point blank, I go, if Jimmy was a good soldier, played 70 games, 68 games, did everything the team asked, played at an all-NBA level, would they have given him the money? Not one person told me yes.
And there you go.
And if that's the case, and one person told me they would have tried to offer him more money, the same money over a longer amount of time, less annually. Right?
Okay.
That's the closest I got to him getting his money. That they would have tried to negotiate something like that if he did all the things that they asked. Right? And if that's the case, which, by the way, I think, Tiff, you and I know he wasn't going to play 70 games.
Right.
He's 35 fucking years old.
Right.
You know,
and we've seen his injuries the last couple of years.
He can't play at an all-NBA level for 68 games. He can't.
Right.
Not in the regular season because he is at an age where he needs to kind of monitor his minutes and his body, and he needs to pick his spots on like, okay, I'm going to be, I'm going to put on the cape today, as you like to say. So if the answer is no to those questions, about what the fuck were we doing? If that's if you as a team knew that was your reality, how do you not go to him in the offseason and be like, hey man, Jimmy, we understand that you want your money. We are not in a position to give you that. We love you. This is what we'd offer you if you'd like to sign that, and if you don't, we understand. Where would you like to go? Let's work through back channels to find somebody that will pay you, and then we can get you in a winning situation or in a city that you want to be in. And that way, you don't do this at fucking gunpoint. And the trade deadline's in a week and a half, right? You're up against the deadline. You and your player have no leverage. You are radioactive. I see people asking on the timeline, why would anybody want him?
Right.
Look what he does to teams. The national media shockingly has sided with the Heat.
Right.
They just talk about what an asshole Jimmy's being. So it's like the fact that you guys let it get here is just pure short-sightedness. Because I have always been of the opinion like, hey, just keep him, pay him, figure it out. Like, but clearly they never felt that way. So if you don't feel that way, what the fuck were you doing? Because now what you have, Tiff, a guy at the cusp of his first All-Star team. You have a really promising young player in Khalil Ware, which, by the way, is helping change the way you play. You're playing a second big. You're playing guys in new roles. You have a lot of things. Niko Jovic is really kind of making himself a staple in the lineup. You have now access to 4-5 pick and rolls. You have a really big guy who's handling and creating. You have a lot of things going on in your team. It would be nice if you had some other players to complement what's going on, not a guy who's torpedoing your locker room. And even when he's out there, you're not playing for anything anymore.
Right. I mean, I think the other thing is, and I've said this, the Denver series was the telltale to me. That it said you just didn't have enough, and you don't have enough.
And listen, and he got hurt.
He did. But I'll keep it.
And that matchup stunk. Yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't have enough.
No.
And that was the moment for me personally where you said, I'm either going all in because I think we have X, Y, and Z, or this is the moment where I do start talking to some of my players and saying, okay, this is where we are. This is what I know you're looking forward to financially. These are the things we can do. These are the things we can't do. Like, I feel like that's the moment where you start having these conversations. When you decided, okay, we're going to sign and trade Max to Cleveland. Gabe is walking and going to LA. Like once those things started to happen, this is when there was supposed to be a facelift for the team. And it just didn't happen.
No, I mean what you just did was you kept losing guys for
Mm-hmm.
nothing. You got a second round pick for Max. You get nothing for Gabe. You get you get a you lose stuff and you get Rozier for Lowry. So just all in all negative return.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin left, and for nothing. And listen, they wanted to keep Caleb, and that at the end of the day, that one is not their fault.
Right.
Even though Caleb saved them from a disaster, right?
Right.
Signing him for whatever 4 years for that amount of money. But at the end of the day, these are guys they tried to keep.
Right.
Max, understandably, Cleveland gave him a really hefty contract that I don't blame Miami for not giving him,
Right.
even though he's been very good. And listen, that bothered Jimmy. So, Tiff, they got to a point, and I talk about this a lot, and I use the Houston Rockets, the Harden Rockets, as the example. There always
Mm-hmm.
comes a point in a team when you can't reshuffle anymore. You're just going to you're just going to get worse and worse slowly until it
Right.
all ends, right? Like you cannot reshuffle. Every time you reshuffle, you lose a little bit. Sometimes you catch lightning, like the Warriors, right? You get Wiggins, you get a buy low guy in Wiggins, and you get Jordan Poole, who's really productive for you for a couple years before. I don't know what the fuck happened to him. I can't believe he won a title.
Right.
But this is clearly, I don't know if Miami thought, but they never did any buy low moves. They didn't buy
Right.
low on any star. They didn't do anything. They just kept losing guys and replacing them with other undrafted guys, which a lot of front office detractors have kind of called them out for that and have been saying this for a long time. So, I mean, here we are, running around with all these scars.
Yeah. I think the other thing
Hold
is
on.
that
Alex in chat is like, Poole's having a great season. I saw him cross up a guy, point at a guy, and then didn't get a 3 off. I don't want to hear this. That guy's a fucking loser, bro.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. I'm just not doing this.
Yeah, there's really it's like what else can you say about this situation? I think for me basically, I'm literally just trying to think about what happens next. Like because you have all these guys and it's like for me this season was supposed to be about all these other guys. Like this is not a championship roster. So this was supposed to be really what you see, what you had in Tyler, Bam, Jaime, Nico. Like this was it. Like for me, they all should have been playing day one. Because you have too many.
We got there.
We got there. Because you have too many guys at some point that, because we're going to be talking about it again, that want to get paid.
Well, that's the other thing that's going to come up, right? So now, Highsmith is due. Nico's due. You want 2026 flexibility. We're going to find out how the team feels about these guys. Are these guys that they view as part of their future? Like, are these guys that they say, okay, these are pieces that we're going to build around a star when we find them? Or do they not view those guys like that? So they have decisions to make. Bam, his extension's about to kick in. You're going to have to make a decision on Duncan soon, who, by the way, is playing really good.
Yeah.
You know? And has so now you're going to have to make another decision on a guy that you already made a decision on. There's a lot of things kind of orbiting this team, Tiff. And you waited too long for Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to get cap space. And I think part of it is they're going to see the free agent market. They're going to look at Fox. They're going to look at Durant. They're going to look at Trae Young. They're going to look at those guys, but they're going to also kind of be in play to absorb contracts with cap space. I think getting a pick is important for them. I think if they can get 2, that's huge. I think that they want their pick to convey now so that they don't have to owe an unprotected pick, because that's a little scary, even though this draft upcoming is really good. And that's where we are, Tiff.
And it's interesting because you say they'll look at Durant. I don't know why you would look at Durant.
just gonna look at guys. They're gonna
No,
snip
but
around.
no,
Yeah.
but I get that, but I'm just saying, like, why would you look at anybody 30 or over?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I
Like,
think
this should be, like, to me, this should be the part as to where you have a nucleus that you can run together for 5 to 6 years.
well, Tiff, the quiet part is it's like, you thought I think they expected Bam to be somebody offensively
Mhm.
that he is not right now.
Right.
And I don't know how they refine that. I mean, he's played with Ware a lot recently, and I think it's looked good for Ware.
Yeah.
And it's looked good for the team. Is it look good for Bam? Not necessarily. And I see people saying Bam has regressed. And I wanna push back on that a little bit. I think a lot of kind of Bam's success was a little bit of funky numbers shooting the ball because his mid-range has really, it's still about, I mean, he was 44% last year. He's 40% this year. He was 46 the year before. So that's kind of steadily climbed down. Really had one good mid-range shooting season at 40. He had, at 46%, and then he's just kind of gone back down. The threes have just not been good, which I think that's been a mistake. And I think his shots are just coming from bad places. I think he needs to kind of find himself as a rim roller again. I mean, he's finishing 66% at the rim. That needs to go up. The attempts need to go up. He needs to get to the line. He needs to kind of find himself as a passer. Stop with the fucking threes. Stop with the mid ranges. Stop with that. You use that in a pinch. It can't be your offense.
Yeah. And I think that, when you you draft Ware, you wanted that beginning of the season to try those two together, right? Like, you drafted this guy high. So ultimately, like, this is the guy you should be playing as to where you drafted him. But you're in this part of the season now where it's like, we can make the play in. Are we pushing? Like, so it's a weird thing because you want Bam to find his footing, but can he find his footing while also trying to get you to at least the play in? Like, these are just like weird. You're in such a weird paradox.
Tiff, he needs to get back to defending, which he does, but get defending at the level that is best in the league. And bro, pass and go to the rim. 57% of his scores at the rim are assisted. That's way too low.
Yeah.
Why are you self-creating so
Yeah.
much at the rim? You're not good at that. You need to be, he was at 72% in 2021 with Kyle Lowry. 2021-22, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to get back to. 69, 68,
But you need a player.
72.
But you don't have that player either.
His assists have gone, his assisted field goals at the rim has gone down. And by the way, he's assisted on more mid-range jump shots than he is on rim shots.
I just think
that should be the opposite.
Yeah.
The
But
mid-range should be the thing you self-create.
But you got to look at it two ways. One, you don't have a point guard who can create.
Chat's saying that they're agreeing with you.
Like, you don't have a point guard that can create. So that's number one. Number two, I personally always said the three for Bam should be the last option.
Yes.
Like, he should be like, if he's the trailer, yes, that's a nice little shot. But
if you're late in the clock,
yeah, but that's
open,
what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
But those are the two things. Like, the three should be out of necessity, but you need a point guard. And then that's the other problem with a few of these players, that they're having to do a lot of self-creation. You don't have anyone who can purely just go out on any given night and look at you in the face and say, oh, I'm going to get 12 points and I'm going to get 9 assists. You have no one on the team that could just look you in the face and say, I'm going to get you that. And by the assist, I mean actually create for other people. Like, you don't have that.
You don't have that. I mean, Tyler Hero's not a point guard, and that's not his job. Tyler's job is not to create for other people. Tyler's job is to create for Tyler, which he's doing very good at. Like, that's not, right. He's a shooting guard. His role is to buckets. Rozier is the point guard. That's his job, to get guys involved. He's not good at it. Isaiah Stevens, not even in the daylights of the rotation. Drew Smith was playing great, out. Gabe Vincent's not walking through that door. That's another guy that was really good with Bam. I think the pick and roll synergy with Gabe Vincent and Bam was great. Losing Jimmy, that's a real ball handler that you lost for Jimmy. And I don't think their pick and roll synergy by the end was great, but and chat's saying Isaiah Stevens is going to get cooked at the NBA level. He's just totally not ready. I 100% agree with you, Chino. Duncan is really the only guy that I think is like consistently creating for Bam.
Right.
In positive ways. I'd like to see a little more Jovic with him, but again, now we're getting into kind of more low usage kind of situations. Okay, yeah, let's see what Jovic and Bam can do together. That can't be your diet. You need something consistent. You need a real guard that can help, or a wing, preferably a guard, that can create for Bam downhill that they just don't have.
And so I think that it's like I see him getting better this season, but I don't see him looking as good as he looked in the past. You just are missing too many things that helped him succeed at what he was doing on the court. Even on the defensive end, like you're missing stronger defenders at the guard spot. Like there's just been so much asked of him that I just think at some point it was inevitable for him to slow down.
And I don't want to make this a focus on Bam because today is about Jimmy.
Right.
But,
Right.
Obviously, Jimmy's a guy that was supposed to help him on both ends of the floor, and that just hasn't been the case. So now with all this mess happening, all these guys are left in flux. And Tiff, it's just like, this has to end.
No, it does. Because people need to know what's next.
People need to know. You need to know when you go to work who's going to, were those guys expecting to play with Jimmy tomorrow? Probably.
Yeah.
That changes the whole starting lineup. That changes the whole rotation. That makes Haywood's job harder.
First of all, timeout. He got to get some playing time.
Now he will.
He should have got it the other night too.
Yeah, I mean, there's
like what are we doing? No, but it makes everybody's job harder. And then the other part that I was talking to someone, and I said, here's what it looks like when there's no Jimmy, and now we could just keep throwing two at Tyler. Because where's the threat? Yeah. Who's the threat outside of Tyler? Who do they look at this team and go, okay, you can't double him, because if you double him, so-and-so is going to kill us. And personally, I feel like that's what they thought Terry was supposed to be, but you don't have that.
Nope. And really, Tiff, it's like, who can attack stuff off the closeout, like off the dribble? Because, Tyler's running pick and roll, and they'll blitz him early, right? That's what teams are doing. They're blitzing him early. So he needs to get off the ball fast. And when you get off the ball fast, that rotation is quick. He is not LeBron James, where he can make the pass from the top, the right wing to the left corner. He can't do that. So that pass is going to be from him to the top of the key to the guy who screened, right? Or the guy who rolled on the slip pass, although that teams have done a good job of taking away. So that pass is a perimeter pass, which now one of those guys that doubled is already flying on that rotation. So that shot is not so open to shoot, but what you are open for is a drive. And the way that they're defending is they know, that guy, if Rozier beats me, I don't care. Somebody's going to rotate. He can't finish. Duncan Robinson, I'll take my chances. He's been good. But again, if you as a team, you're like, I'll let Duncan Robinson do that 20 times. That's not Duncan's role.
Right.
Duncan can do it for you a few times, but that's not his job. Bam is not going to take it top of the key to the fucking rim off 3 dribbles. He's not Giannis. He's not Jimmy. He's not Kawhi. He's a fucking rim rolling big who has a little bit of ball skill. And I think people have gotten that mixed up with who he is. So you're right, because they expected a guy who can who can help, not even break down a defense, although they needed that.
Right.
Fucking attack a bent defense.
Yep.
And these guys can't do that.
No.
Is Alec Burke the second best guy at it?
He might be.
You know what I mean? Like, what
he
is it?
might
Is
be.
it Duncan and then Alec Burke?
Yep. Yep.
The fuck
He
is
might
that,
be.
man? Which, by the way, I straight up, that guy needs to play over Rozier. I don't know
Yeah.
what Rozier does. He's awful. He's
And-
fucking awful.
And I kind of like I don't want to just be like he's awful without like trying to have like what the hell happened. Cuz he looks worse than he did last year.
He is.
So, I don't know if whatever happened to him with his neck injury, if that actually was way worse than
Tiff, the shooting,
we ever knew.
29% from 3. The rim finishing's up 58%, which is still bad, to 55. Mid range has gone down by 3 percentage points. Free throws are good.
And then I also go to there's a difference when you're playing in Charlotte. There's just a difference.
The D'Angelo factor.
Right. There's just a difference from playing in Charlotte to playing in Miami. High expectations if you're playing in Miami. It also appears Charlotte's just happy to be here. So, that also could play a part.
The other thing about Charlotte is they have a real fucking playmaker on the ball. That, you know what I mean? Like, we can say what we want about LaMelo.
Yeah.
Real fucking playmaker.
Yep.
I don't like him. I think he's a fucking... I wouldn't want him near my team who's trying to be serious. But at the end of the day, a real legitimate playmaker that can hoop.
Yeah. So there's so many layers to this. And the sad part is, I think people think once we trade Jimmy and get whatever we get, it's over. It's not over.
The saga's over, but listen.
The saga's over, but then the reality takes place that you no longer have Jimmy. You have whatever you have, and then all the focus now turns to Tyler.
It's going to be okay because Middleton's going to be here and Bobby Portis is going to be here. I'm not even going to lie, Tiff. Bobby Portis would have been nice last year, not now.
Exactly.
They're playing 2 bigs. Nico's fine. I don't really like him as backup 5 because he can't defend.
Right.
So, like, I guess you can find him, film some spot minutes here and there. I think he's a decent player, and I think Miami could probably get something out of him. But ultimately, like, I actually think they have. I mean, they have a forward rotation of Jovic, a power forward of Jovic, Highsmith, Bam / Ware, whichever one's playing. They need another. I think they need another 5 to like.
Why are we even? And this is the thing. Why are we still playing Haywood there? Why aren't we sliding him down at this point?
I don't really think he could defend guards. I think he should stay like in like a small forward, power forward.
That's what that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why aren't we sliding him down from power forward to small forward?
No, and I mean, like, he'll play both. Like, I think that,
but he shouldn't even be defending that position at this point.
No, but like when teams downsize, like if they play Boston and Boston like plays Tatum at the 4.
Well,
like,
yeah. But that's a different scenario. I just mean overall, if you're telling me now we're doing the Ware Bam thing.
Oh no, yeah, because like, you're not gonna play him at the 4 against Cleveland, right?
Right.
But you would against New York.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like I want him on Bridges.
Yeah.
You know
you would definitely want that.
Right.
It's matchup dependent.
And Milwaukee.
He
does a good job on Giannis.
He sure does.
So, I think that there are matchups where you're like, okay, if they have a wing at the 4, we can play Haywood, but but he can play 3 a lot too. So Boston, if they play Horford and Porzingis, you slide him into the 3. There's no Jimmy there anymore. You could defend Tatum, right? And I think you want to. I think you want to protect him and keep him off guards.
Yeah.
But
I just think there's so much they should be looking at this point.
I mean, I don't. It's kind of like it seems unclear. I'm sure that the Heat have different directions, and Trophy Baby in chat can probably give us, him and Ethan and Greg, so Leif, I'm not gonna call him Greg. Leif at 5 Reasons. I've done more reporting on this, but I kind of feel like the Heat are trying to figure out what way they want to go. I think originally they wanted to find a guy that was almost as good as Jimmy to help kind of bridge the eras.
Mhm.
Now I think they're going to try to pivot to expiring salaries and any kind of draft equity that they can procure. I don't think that getting young guys was ever on the table for a 35-year-old Butler. I think
Right.
there was that brief moment where we thought Houston might be interested, where that was a reality, but I don't really think that that was anything real. So we're
Right.
kind of like in this area where it's like, what do they want? What do they want to get? And the Milwaukee stuff, getting Middleton and Portis kind of feels like it fills both, because you get Middleton and you get Portis, who you feel, okay, those are two guys that'll play for you right now. They'll help us get into the playoffs, whether that be through the play-in, playing the Bulls for the 60th time in the row to qualify, or whatever, and losing round one because they want to make the playoffs, because that's who they are. And I think that they don't. I think they want to convey their pick before it becomes unprotected.
Mhm.
Because if they, and I've talked about this with Lou a lot, Tiff, and I don't know how you feel about this. Lou has been a proponent of just take the pick now, tank. Once Jimmy's gone, just be bad, get in the lottery. Even if you get the 12th pick, this is a great draft. And then next year you give Compay your unprotected pick. And I'm like, but what if they're worse next year?
Right. Because there's a
You're a
possibility.
Bam shoulder injury away from a full on, we're the worst team in the league.
Right.
Because listen, Detroit's better. I mean,
Yeah.
just look at the East. Like, Detroit's better. Toronto probably bad. Washington bad. Charlotte bad. I don't know if you can out tank those teams, but yeah, never mind.
But
Philly's gonna be better. You imagine.
right. And it's also just kind of like it's easy for us to sit here and say just tank. But then Bam doesn't, you think Bam wants to tank?
Nah.
Right. Like so there's it- you can't really, like, to me, these bad teams, like Charlotte's just bad. They're not tanking on purpose.
I'm gonna tell you
They're
something.
bad.
Middleton's shooting splits look kind of nice. He's good. There's a lot of green on this chart. Yeah, I could be convinced.
I mean,
I could be convinced.
you gonna say no if they get him? Like,
Nice. You say yes. Expires in 2026. You say yes. Welcome, young man from Texas A&M.
oh, wait, he's expiring in 26.
Yeah, that's why they want him, and so is
Okay.
Portis.
Okay.
That's kind of the thinking behind the Middleton and Portis thing is they get the 2026 flexibility, and they get a guy who can help them now.
Right. Okay.
Right. And then I just don't understand what Milwaukee gets out of this, because every Milwaukee Bucks person I've ever talked to says, I had one person tell me, quote, I'm going to make January 6th look like an ice cream party if we end up with Beal.
Well, and here's the thing. Do we like, yeah, there's been reporting, but like, we don't know. Bill, he could just sit back and go, nah, I'm good.
People feel like Sunday is kind of a soft deadline for Miami to get this done. I don't know what the offers are. And I cannot imagine them waiting until the offseason. I think the first suspension, everybody had to cool down. Everybody had to cool off. They went on this long road trip. Everybody had a chance to chill. Jimmy comes back, gave a decent effort, played, showed up, didn't make a mess in the media. He did his little stunt wearing the 45, but at the end of the day, like, all's well. And then this second suspension happens, which and by the way, there was reporting that saying like they will suspend him as many times as they need.
Yeah.
So this is ugly. This is ugly.
Yeah. With the potential to get worse.
They're gonna give Middleton 22, right?
Of course.
Pat Riley is a petty motherfucker.
Spite.
Spite. Did we watch Tiff, best guess? Did we watch the last Jimmy Butler game in a Heat uniform?
Maybe.
Could go either
Maybe.
way.
Listen, it definitely could go either way.
I think for
Just
sure.
a bit outside.
I think for sure, but crazier things have happened.
Exactly.
Chad
So
is
we,
saying
you
this
know,
is nowhere near Minnesota ugly. Yeah, I agree. Minnesota was the ugliest. Yeah.
right. So, but I said it has the potential to get worse.
It has the potential to get worse. And we'll keep you guys posted if there's any news updates over the weekend. We will bring you any update. There's also there might not be a game tomorrow. Milwaukee cannot leave. The Heat are scheduled to play the Bucks tomorrow in Milwaukee. The Bucks are stuck in New Orleans. There is a snowstorm in the deep south, and they can't leave New Orleans. They literally can't fly home because why would any of these cities be prepared for snow?
Right.
You know, so there might not even be a fucking game tomorrow for Jimmy to fly to.
Well, I guess then we'll really find out.
Chat says trade G for Siobhan. You want to talk about negative return on assets? We'll see you guys tomorrow if there's a game. If not, we'll see you when we see you.